Alright you guys, so we're going to start with an eyebrow do, and the first thing you want to do always is make sure all of your hairs are going in the same direction, whether that's upwards or over, and then you want to start with a pomade. I personally like to use a pomade. Sometimes I like to use a pencil, but I always start with the base of the brow, and I always use my ABH A12 brush. It's just like the best brush. So I start by brushing a line right across all the way from the inner portion to the outer portion, and then I start to follow the top half, and I just pretty much go where exactly my hair is. I don't go too much over it because I don't want my eyebrows really bulky and really thick. I get my eyebrows threaded, and my eyebrow lady does my eyebrows exactly how I like them, so I just follow exactly how she threads them, and then I start to feather in lightly. Now when I get to the front half of my brow, I loosen a lot of the pressure up and just kind of like feather it in, and then continue to go over it until it's exactly how I want. But I take my time with this, and then I make sure I brush through all of the eyebrow hairs and continue to go over things if I feel like I've missed a spot or anything like that. An eyebrow don't is using a pomade or a pencil that is way too dark. Now, I didn't brush through my eyebrow hairs. My eyebrow hairs are kind of going all over the place, and I am using a black pencil. You never, ever, ever want to use a straight black pencil. It just looks really harsh, and it doesn't blend into the skin as well, and it just looks really, really bad. You can use a black brown, which I recommend because that's generally what I use, but I never use a black, and my hair is pretty black, and especially if you're really, really, really light, like you're white or Hispanic or whatever it may be, it can look really, 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 really bad on you. As you can see, I'm also going really far up, and I'm boxing out the front of my brow, which I see a lot of women do, and it's a no-no. So an eyebrow do is using a concealer that is 1 to 2 shades lighter. Me personally, I like to use my MAC ProLongWear concealer, and it's in the shade NC45, which is about 2 shades lighter than my skin tone, and I use a flat definer brush from Sigma, which is an E15 flat definer brush, to go and clean up underneath of the brow, and then I make sure to drag it down. That is a step that I feel like a lot of women forget and don't do. Women or younger women, whatever it may be, drag that concealer down so that way when you go to prime your lids, whether you use a concealer or an eyeshadow base, it will blend into the eyeshadow base or the concealer that you do use. Now, I also like to carve out the top of my brow as well to make sure that the point on the edge kind of comes to a point and it's nice and crisp. But if you do this, you want to make sure that you blend it out and also blend it upwards. Now, that's also a step that women forget because you will have a halo brow, and halo brows are a no-no. They look really bad, and it just doesn't look cohesive. So as I'm putting concealer up, I'm going to turn my brush flat, and I'm going to blend out that concealer, and then I usually take my finger and just blend it into the skin as well, and then it will look like this afterwards. Now, an eyebrow don't is using a concealer that is 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 shades lighter. This concealer, I don't even know how many shades lighter it was. It was like really, really, really light, and of course I'm using that same brush, but I'm not going to blend this concealer down because I wanted to show you guys how some people conceal under there and they don't blend it out, and it will show up and look really bad when you apply your eyeshadow and everything like that. The same goes for applying concealer above. Now, if you're going to apply a concealer above, you definitely want to make sure that it blends out, but I'm not going to feather it upwards. I'm just going to leave it like a harsh line, and like also block out the front of the brow, which is a huge, huge no-no. You never want to do something like that because it creates that hard line of demarcation. So the last do is setting your brows. I always set my brows nowadays because my brow hairs have been really unruly, even though they're not really there, but I always set it with the Gimme brow, and then after that, that is it, you guys. That is my brow routine, and this is the don't. The eyebrow hairs are all over the place. It's really harsh. It's not blended out, and it just looks really bad. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today. I love you all, and I'll see you guys very soon. Mwah. Bye.